Welcome to the SBI Podcast, offering CEOs, sales and marketing leaders ideas to make the number.
Welcome, SBI Podcast listeners and video podcast viewers. My name is Dan Perry, and this is my good buddy, Eric Australia, and we are with SBI, a sales and marketing company dedicated to helping you make your number. On this web show and audio podcast, we'll feature topics and tutorials that will help you make your number. And by tuning in, you can leverage emerging best practices and receive how-to instructions on some of the most prevalent go-to-market problems that exist in today's complex selling world.
So, Dan, thank you. Did you ever wonder why some companies make their number every year and some struggle with consistent performance? Companies come to us every day and ask for help to get more consistency, in making their number. But most don't even know where to start. So in today's show, we're going to discuss the revenue growth maturity model. Developed by SBI, the revenue growth maturity model was created to help companies get in strategic alignment. So during our latest research, there was only one commonality among the top 10% of organizations, and that's strategic alignment. So Dan, can you define what that is for our audience, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So strategic alignment begins with a clear understanding of the corporate strategy, followed by a grasp of the interdependencies among the various functional strategies. And to truly be strategically aligned, you must link these internal strategies with external market conditions. Now, Eric, proven to be very difficult, and SBI's found that only 9% are aligned. Right. And the revenue growth maturity model is used by organizations to assess how they rank in terms of strategic alignment. They can actually pinpoint where they are and how they would like to be assessed in the future.
Today, we're going to help you make your 2016 number by explaining this model, how to plot your company on the model, and the value to your organization of improving your position on the model, right? To do this, we're going to use SBI's Revenue Growth Strategy Workbook titled How to Make Your Number in 2016, right? We're going to be focusing on pages 11, 15 of the report if you want to follow at home. And Dan, before we kind of continue going, why do I care? Why do I care where I'm at on the model?
Yeah, so the model is a way to use to assess where you're at, but more importantly, what you need to do to move up on the growth model. So let's say you're a CEO, president of an organization, right? Your main concern is, at the end of the day, shareholder value. How can you return the more shareholder value? And as you mature up the revenue growth maturity model, as we've learned in other episodes, right, that'll drop to the bottom line, huge shareholder revenue.
Right, because your cost of customer acquisition decreases as you move up the model.
Absolutely. And
your cost of customer lifetime value, increases as you progress up the model, at least based off of the data, quantitative data that we've actually done in our research.
Now, if you're a VP of sales, right, so you're leading a sales force, why do you care? You care because you got to get the other strategies aligned for you to make your number. And let's be honest, right? You could have the best sales force in the world, but if the product is horrible, product or service is horrible, you won't be able to sell it. So you have to get the corporate strategy aligned with the product strategy, aligned with the marketing strategy, and then comes the sales strategy and the talent strategy. So that's the reason why if you're a VP of sales, you want to know where you're at and move up that maturity model to not only increase lifetime value, but get the other strategies aligned. And that's a key that we'll learn about the revenue growth maturity model.
Got it. So can you give me an example if I'm a marketing leader? Why should I care about that?
Yeah, so marketing leader, what are you trying to do? You're fighting for budget, right? You got 37 things you got to do and you got budget for 2. So how do you actually get more budget dollars? You would say, okay, what's my corporate strategy? And is my corporate strategy actually aligned with what product and sales are doing? So an example of this is we had a company that we just are in one of our workshops that we're helping out, and they spent all of 2015 developing a brand new product, really 14 into 15. They released that product 2 months ago, brand new product in the marketplace. And now their corporate strategy is shifting from product differentiation to customer intimacy. They got to go sell the stuff. So they got to sell this new product. And so in 2016, they're going to change their corporate strategy and conversely change the dollars from R&D and product to now marketing and sales. So if I'm a marketing leader and I plot myself on that graph, I got to look at my product and my corporate product and sales strategy and say, hey, wait a minute, can I reallocate dollars to get budget so I can adequately do the 37 things I want to do to track buyers to that new product? That's an example of why you care.
Yep, that makes sense. Thank you.
All right, that's great. So if you want a copy of this workbook that I just referenced, go to salesbenchmarkindex.com/2016-report. And if you want to have somebody from SBI teach you how to use it, like I mentioned as well too in our workshops, go to the same address, salesbenchmarkindex.com/2016-workshop. A little difference there. So, but before we dive into each level in the revenue growth maturity model, we should first explain the benefits of using the model. Did a little bit of that, but I'm going to turn to my partner Eric here for more explanation.
We alluded to a couple of these in the prior conversation here. We talked about cost of customer acquisition and customer lifetime value. We're going to get into a little bit more detail here, right? So as we developed this model, SBI discovered a strong correlation between each assessed level and two key distinct metrics. Again, customer acquisition costs and customer lifetime value. So let me define them for you. Customer acquisition costs, also known as CAC, is how much it costs you to acquire a customer, right? Customer lifetime value is how much revenue you can generate from this customer during the lifetime that they actually transact with your company. So the better the ratio between the two, meaning low cost of customer acquisition and high customer lifetime value, the better, right? And it increases your chances of making the number. And if I'm a CEO, I want low cost customer acquisition and high customer lifetime value. That's pure shareholder wealth right there, right? So now the reason we measure these two metrics is that SBI has found that organizations' maturity level improves, CAC is reduced, and CLTV is improved, customer lifetime value. This all leads to sustainable revenue. And as you mature up the 5 levels of the revenue growth maturity model, the CAC gets reduced and the LTV can also increase because of strategic alignment, right? The customer friction goes away and the experience of the customer improves, right? Because we're aligned to the market and our organization is aligned to the functional strategies within there.
So the customer experience improves, right? So that's got to add to lifetime value. I'm starting to get it now. But what about CAC?
Yep.
How would it reduce the customer acquisition costs if the customer experience improves?
Got it. So our strategies are in alignment, right? So we're doing the right things and then we're actually doing them right. And those are the tactics, right? So when you actually have that strategic alignment, we are actually executing efficiently and effectively within our organization, which means that just we are a well-oiled machine. So we can actually go and acquire new customers with not less effort, but with less dollars associated to it because we become more effective as an organization.
Yep, got it.
So we're going to take a quick commercial break, but stick around because when we come back, we're going to define each of the 5 levels of the revenue growth maturity model and show you how to plot your company on the model.
Each day, you receive hundreds of emails, tons of text messages, countless telephone calls, and sit in too many meetings. How do you find ideas to make the number with all this noise? The SBI blog filters all this nonsense for you and presents only first-rate ideas to make the number. Simplify your life. Subscribe to one blog and read the best content. Go to salesbenchmarkindex.com and subscribe today.
Welcome back. I'm Dan Perry, and this is my good buddy E, Eric Estrella, and we are with SBI. Today, we're trying to help you make your 2016 number by explaining and showing you how to use SBI's revenue growth maturity model. And to follow along at home, we're inside SBI's revenue growth strategy workbook titled, How Do You Make Your Number in 2016? If you want a copy of this workbook, go to salesbenchmarkindex.com/2016-report. Now, Eric, the revenue growth maturity model has 5 levels in it, and they are this. Level 1, chaos. Level 2, defined. Level 3, implemented. Level 4, managed. And level 5, predictable. So, E, let's define each level. So why don't we start at the level 1, right? Chaos.
Yep. So, Dan, level 1, chaos. This is where a corporate strategy may exist meaning somebody has articulated something somewhere, right? But functional strategies do not. And what do I mean by functional strategies? That would be the product, marketing, sales, talent, finance, operations, so on and so forth, right? If asked, most functional leaders and their teams would say they are not necessarily familiar with their corporate strategy. It's because they're typically ill-defined, unmanaged, or not effectively communicated within the organization. They operate in an environment that is neither stable nor predictable. Right? These companies in level 1 tend to overcommit and underdeliver. Inconsistent performance and unrepeatable success in heroic efforts to make the number are common in level 1 organizations. The most notable designation of these companies is the friction between the functions. Again, if you're not aligned, that tends to breed friction. Not only do they think the other function is totally messed up, they don't support one another, driving the corporate strategy. Customers feel this conflict and revenue suffers, right? Customer acquisition cost is high. We talked about that earlier. Customer lifetime value is typically low due to churn. And the SBI has found that over 51% of companies are in level 1 chaos state.
You know, it's interesting, Eric. The level 1 chaotic state, right? What we found is the bunch of blaming and pointing fingers. And when we actually do work with these organizations, I find that organizations, I mean, literally, they call each other out. Those product guys can't make a product that I can sell. The product guys say the sales guy can't sell anything. The marketing guy says the talent people, the HR people, they don't have any talent program. They're hiring bums. I can't get any good recruits. There's all this finger pointing that's happening.
Yeah, I'll give you a perfect example. I was in a recent client interaction, and the sales and marketing leaders were actually preparing for a meter so they can actually more or less kind of go against one another, right? It's just to point fingers. Whose fault is it?
Right.
It's actually both of your faults because you're not really aligned, right? So it's a perfect example of a company in a level 1 chaos.
Yeah, so you see 51%, right? That's over half the companies that we're looking at are in this level 1 state. Here's the classic story.
Yep.
So an organization at a workshop that we had, again, I talked to the CEO, he defines his corporate strategy very clearly. We are a product company. We sell the best products out there. It's a software. Our software company makes the best products. I go on a field ride with the sales guy. I'm in front of the customer. The salesperson says, yeah, we're the low price leader. We'll get you the price. No, don't worry about it. We got to make a deal. So talk about a huge disconnect, right? The CEO, what he wants, the sales guy is not saying. That comes out of his mouth. That is a chaotic organization, and your chances of making the number, the probability of success, are totally up to the market conditions, right? Is the economy growing, and can you ride that wave?
Yep.
All right, so let's talk about level 2. Level 2 is defined, and what does this mean? It means that the corporate and functional strategies, they do exist, and the company goes through this annual planning process. But since each strategy is developed separately from one another, there's no coordinated effort to ensure alignment. These strategies are not used, collect dust on the shelf, and are rarely referenced. And the rest of the organization is not familiar with these strategies and never uses them in their day-to-day operations, like I just referenced with the sales rep. But these organizations can sometimes be fooled into thinking they're at a higher level on the growth maturity model. The reason is they see some success but can't repeat it or sustain it. The friction between the functions still exists, right? The product guy blames the sales guy, can't sell anything. And the sales guy says they can't make a product to save them. And the customer experience suffers. So CAC is still high, LTV is still low, and there's a little bit of improvement just because some planning's been done, but it really is still a very undisciplined, unorganized organization. Now, we found 21% of these companies are in a level 2 state defined.
Got it. So if I can just distill this down to our audience, right? So level 1 chaos has a corporate strategy, but no functional strategies. Level 2 has a corporate strategy and defined functional strategies, yet they're not implemented, right? So nobody's really following them. So the clear distinction is that they've written them down, they have something, they at a high level so they can show the board, hey, look, here's our strategies, yet nobody follows them, right?
Absolutely. So if you think about this, right, 51% chaos, 21% in defined, 72% of companies, right, are in this level 1, level 2 state.
That's almost 3 out of every 4 companies. That's incredible.
Yeah. Now, when we do our workshops and we look at this, right, and we ask around the room, You'd be surprised how many people say, oh, we're a 3, we're a 4. We definitely are up an improvement. And then I clearly asked them the question, just send me the strategies. They don't even have them documented. They don't even write them down. I have a CEO who told me, oh, it's all in my head.
But that's chaos. But in level 2, they actually do have them written down.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
But they're not, they don't practice them.
Right.
All right.
So this means a lot of organizations are spending too much to get customers and not optimizing the revenue of the ones they already have. Seems like they need some help. An example, although this is simple, is the corporate strategy indicates that product differentiation is how we will win, right? We're going to sell on product value. And they're going to provide, that's what they're going to provide to the customer, right? But most of the money is being spent in sales and marketing, right? It's classic out of alignment.
I mentioned this,
right?
Yeah,
So think about that. So if I have a product strategy, right, where should most of my money be going? It should be going into R&D and to be engineering. Those are the most important people in my organization, right? If an over-allocation on sales and marketing, then that means I should be having a customer intimate type of strategy from a corporate perspective. Is that accurate?
Exactly. So here's an example of this. So I mentioned this company before that focused on product in 14, 15, roll out a new product line, in 16 got to go sell it. They're actually, getting rid of their engineers. They're decreasing that workforce and they're increasing the workforce for the sales and marketing organization. Now, conversely, in 13, when they had to build a new product, they decreased the number of salespeople. They took salespeople out of the field. They took marketing dollars out of the budget and shoved it in R&D to build this new product. It depends what the corporate strategy is, and if you align those, and the revenue growth maturity model will allow you to not only assess where you're at, but build this roadmap to get you more in alignment and move up that the maturity model.
Cool. Yeah, so it's a good point because strategy, allocation of people, time, and money. And what you were talking about is a perfect example of that.
You're right about that. So, but before we dive deep on how to figure out where your company is on the revenue growth maturity model, let's go back and let's explain 3, 4, and 5 pretty briefly. It's only makes up 27, 28% of companies right now. So what we need to do is just briefly go through 3, 4, and 5. So Eric, take us through 3.
Yep, level 3, implemented. So this means that the corporate strategies and functional strategies have been defined and implemented throughout the organization. Each level in their function understands the strategy and abides by it. Daily, the function acts in silos, executing on their functional strategy. So what I mean by that, so that means in each one of those functional areas, they understand the strategy, right? And it's implemented within their silo. Behavior changes are evident with the strategy being driven down into the function. Past accomplishments are repeatable because of the strategic discipline. Friction inside the function within the function is removed, yet it still exists between the functions. So again, no friction within sales, no friction within marketing, but friction still exists between sales and marketing, right? And this lack of alignment confuses customers. Customer acquisition costs and CLTV typically improve, but not nearly as much as they can, right? And what we found in our research, 13% of companies fall into this level 3 implemented state.
So I'm going to call out everybody who thinks they're a level 3 right now to relook at that. Because if you think through it, 13% of companies are in this stage, and then we'll go a little bit further and you'll find that 6% are in level 4 and 9% is in level 5. So literally 28%. So if you think you're level 3, 4, and 5, I call you out, and I hope you are. But if you're not, you need to really look at this and say, am I really a level 1 and level 2? And if I am, how do I identify this and actually go throughout my different functions and have everyone else recognize the fact that I'm not at this level? Because when you admit that you're not at the level, it's the first step in getting better.
Yep.
So level 4, I kind of jumped to it. So level 4 is managed. It's the most infrequent state of companies are in with only 6%. It's the level where dramatic improvements in CAC and customer lifetime value are realized. Now, all strategies are now defined, aligned, and implemented, and each function understands their strategy and their dependencies between the other functional strategies and corporate strategies. Internal friction no longer exists, and best practices are sought out and shared, and common KPIs are used. But the organization is only internally aligned and not externally aligned to the market. Performance can get better if they incorporate market conditions in their corporate and functional strategies. And this would include reviewing the strategies on a quarterly basis, right? Incorporating market and customer insight into them. Now, Eric, let's give some examples of a company that was a level 4 company that has unfortunately dropped pretty significantly. So you can move pretty quickly between the levels. The company that I'm thinking about is BlackBerry.
Okay.
Now, BlackBerry was in a level 4 way before the iPhone came out. They had great alignment internally, if you think about it. They were the go-to smartphone back in the early 2000s. And they executed flawlessly internally. But the iPhone came out and wiped them out. I mean, literally wiped out the company. Now, there's arguments to say that they're coming back. But my point being is that we all know what happened to BlackBerry. They didn't listen to the market. They didn't align externally to the market. They were capped at a level 4, and now they're back into chaotic or defined state at level 1 or level 2.
Got it. So essentially, they effectively had strategies within each function. They were executing amongst them, but those strategies just were not aligned to the market, right?
Yeah.
So, or at least they didn't know as much about the market as they thought they did.
Here's an example, right? They didn't put a camera in their smartphone. Right. iPhone came out with a camera, and everybody loved it. That there was a camera in my smartphone, and BlackBerry was late to the party on putting cameras in their smartphones. That's an example.
Got it.
Right?
Okay.
All right, take us through level 5, Eric.
All right. So level 5, predictable. This means that all strategies have been defined, aligned, implemented, both internally and externally, which is the huge difference between level 4 and level 5, right? So it's a logical progression. So each level in the function understands their strategy and the impact they have on the customers. Everyone can adapt to the market in real time and predict performance and understand causality. It excels rather than settles for improved internal performance year over year. Customers are delighted to work with these organizations because they are aligned to the market, right? Customer acquisition cost is reduced by almost half of level 4 companies, and customer lifetime value jumps up to approximately 26% over level 1 in an organization. So there are about 9% of companies that are in this strategically aligned state level, which is level 5 predictable.
Yeah, and it makes a huge difference to do this, right? To get to that level 5 predictable state. What the payoffs are tremendous, but it's hard to do if only 9% of companies are in this state. Eric, time for another short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. On the other side of this break, we're going to show you how to plot your company now on this revenue growth maturity model.
You are watching SBI TV. This is a monthly web TV show featuring guests just like you, executives trying to grow their revenues. Each month, you can peek behind the scenes and watch your peers discuss their strategies for how they make their numbers. You are not going to want to miss this.
Welcome back. I'm Dan Perry, and this is my colleague Eric Strela, and we are with SBI. So today we're trying to help you make your 2016 number by explaining and showing you how to use SBI's revenue growth maturity model. Follow along at home. We're inside SBI's revenue growth strategy workbook titled How to Make Your Number in 2016. If you want to copy this sucker, go to salesbenchmarkindex.com/2016-report.
All right, so Dan, so we explained before the break the revenue growth maturity model and defined each stage, each of the 5 stages, right? But now it's time for us to understand how to plot your company on the model. But first, let's discuss why do you want to take the time and effort to understand where you actually are in the model, and why should you care? You know, we mentioned during the explanations of each level how customer acquisition costs can be reduced as you mature, and customer lifetime value increases as you mature and move up into the right on the maturity model. The differences are significant. As you mature along the revenue growth maturity model curve, CAC can be reduced up to 30%, with dramatic improvements showing after you've succeeded in achieving level 5 status, predictable. Remember, only 9% of companies. So it sounds simple, but it's not, right? The same improvement is true for customer lifetime value, with revenue improvements dramatically accelerating at level 5, up 26% compared to level 1 on customer lifetime value. Right? This is significant because it creates an inordinate amount of shareholder wealth.
Now, we also shared why, if you're a CEO, you should care. Why you're head of sales, you should care. Why head of marketing should care as well too, and how you actually can use the revenue growth maturity model to achieve your goals. It's pretty important stuff.
Yeah.
So Eric, the improvement in these is significant. We talked about it. It makes all that hard work and effort seem easy with these type of results. But there is one more metric need to discuss. It's the probability of success of actually achieving that number. So those organizations that have achieved strategic alignment at level 5, predictable, increase the probability of attaining the revenue growth objective 4 times more than those that don't.
Yeah, so Dan, in our research, in 2014, an impressive 84% of companies achieved their revenue objective. Clearly a good year for a lot of companies. But those with strategic alignment had a 96% chance of exceeding the top line performance. Let me repeat that, 96% chance of doing that. That's a 4x better ratio, right? So strategic alignment not only lowers customer acquisition costs, increases customer lifetime value, but it increases the probability of success for you to make your number. So that's a lot less worried about for everybody.
If I'm a CEO, right, I care about that, right? If I get them in alignment because I got more predictability and success. If I'm a sales VP, I care about that, et cetera, et cetera. But you got to get these things in alignment, and that's the rub, and that's why it's difficult to do.
Yeah, well, like we said, we're only 9% of companies, 6% in level 4 and 9% in level 5, right? Level 4 fully aligned to one another within the organization, and level 5 is fully aligned internally and externally. Right?
So the evidence is pretty overwhelming, right? We can get this thing that it's important. So let's discuss how you at home can actually determine where your company is at on the revenue growth maturity model.
Cool. So Dan, this is a little bit of art and science, kind of mix it all in here, right? So the first step is actually when we start with chaos and getting everybody in the room, right? So a lot of people are even reluctant to just say, all right, here's where I'm at, right? So if you have the head of sales, head of products, head of marketing, everybody in just one room and saying, let's actually define where it is we truly are, that's the first step into it. And it's very, very insightful because I guarantee you, our audience, once you get everybody in that room, people are going to plot yourselves on different areas, right? Yeah. Marketing guy might say, I'm in level 3, sales guy might be in level 1, products guy might be, hey, we're in level 5 because I know what the market's doing. But that's truly insightful because just by definition, that alone tells you you're completely and holistically out of alignment right there. That would be my first piece of advice, is to make sure everybody just gets aligned, gets in the room, and does that, first and foremost.
So what we found, Eric, right, is, when I sit in this room and I go around, I was with a company, they brought 15 people into this room. So that's more than I thought was going to be there. So I sat down, I started to walk around. I explained the model, went around, and we got answers from 1 to 5 in that room. That tells me the lowest common denominator is a 1. So when you do this with your own team, just give them the definitions, don't bias the conversation, and simply ask them.
Yeah, just you start with, do we even have our corporate and functional strategies documented?
Yeah.
Because I guarantee the vast majority of you out there likely don't, right? It doesn't necessarily mean you're holistically out of alignment, but what does somebody actually even refer to if they're doing their job on a daily basis if they don't have something that's actually a strategy document that tells me what I should be doing every day? What lens should I be thinking through?
Eric, a couple other ones, are they documented?
Yep.
Are the questions documented? I wrote some down here. Does everyone know what he or she, is going to say, or actually can talk about their own strategy?
Well, you brought this up earlier, right? So how do we win? Are we a customer intimate company? Are we a products company? Or are we a low price leader company?
That's basically
that's
the
just,
three.
That's foundational. I guarantee you, and we see it all the time. You ask the CEO, hey, we're this. You ask the sales leader, hey, we're this. That just tells you that they're just not holistically aligned.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that, we can talk about corporate strategy all day long and on what's good and what's bad,
yeah.
But my point, though, is you got to find out what everybody thinks they know about the corporate strategy. Another thing I had here is, ask the question, do people refer back to them in their daily jobs? I mentioned that sales rep, right? Going as a low price leader, yet the CEO says they're a product differentiator. You find that out by getting in the field and riding with your reps. You find that out by going and sitting in the marketing campaign meetings. What are they planning in their campaigns? Are they actually planning what the corporate strategy is? And then if you look up, did they do enough market research? I found that they skip the market research portion, or they think they anecdotally know what market research is without properly doing this on a consistent basis.
Yeah, so it's a perfect, so we talk about, market research, market account, buyer user segmentation, right? So a perfect way to identify if you're out of alignment is looking at sales and marketing. All right, so who are they trying to create demand for? And, are they actually selling demand to what your ideal customer profile is, right? Have you even defined that? Yeah. So, if you haven't identified what your ideal customer profile is, then how do you actually know where to go fish, right? Yeah. Where's your corporate strategy pointing to?
It's a big hole, I think, as well, too.
Yep.
Another question you want to ask is, do functions get along? Right? I mean, I've seen this happen where they don't even get along, and they're all nicey to each other face to face, and then you get in behind a closed door, you take them out for dinner, and they start talking bad about the other functions. Unfortunately, we've seen it too much, right? It's disparaging, I tell you, right? And then there's stereotypes of each function too, right? Those biases that live in companies. So those are the questions you want to ask yourself. Now, it's a long list, so don't try to do this all in one meeting, right? The best is to go through the process by asking everyone where they think they are first, then build, hypothesis and then evidence to prove or disprove everyone's conclusions. Don't just do the simple back of the napkin assessment, because this is talking about your company and the growth of your organization. It's impactful.
So you said a lot of consultancy things right there. Mm-hmm. So what if I kind of just break that down into just say, all right, what is it that we're doing as an organization? Are we aligned? Does everybody have the same message? Yes or no, right? Do we have our strategies defined? Are they implemented? Are they aligned to the market? Really, it's just break it down plain and simple like that. If you just identify where you're at and be truthful about it, just like you said, just that first step in the road to recovery is just identifying where you're actually at in the process, right?
Right.
So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. On pages 19 through 24 in the strategy workbook, SBI goes into how to conduct this research through 4 separate lenses. We think that's a great start. Eric, tell us about those 4 lenses.
Yep, so you have your corporate lens, your market lens, your field lens, and your competitive lens. Right? So what are you doing when you're actually looking at those, right? Corporate, so just getting internal feedback. Field lenses, dialos, field rides. Market is gathering market intelligence, such as TAM, growth rates, different things like that. Competitive is understanding who your competitors are, what their strategies are, right? Yep. These things play into how you actually go and do research.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Yeah, so again, refer back to our strategy workbook in those pages 19 through 24 for more detailed answer and help you get you aligned on proper research. So, Eric, we're out of time today. We have defined the revenue growth maturity model, told you why you should care about it with some hard evidence, how much goodness can come from higher maturity, and discussed how to plot yourself on the model. We'd like to thank you, our viewers, for tuning in. If you enjoyed this show, I suggest you subscribe to SBI TV at salesbenchmarkindex.com/TV, or you can find us at our SBI YouTube channel. We have some outstanding content coming in future episodes that you will not want to miss. So until then, we wish you the best of luck as you try and make your number.
This has been the SBI Podcast. For more information on SBI services, case studies, the SBI team and how we work, or to subscribe to our other offerings, please visit us at salesbenchmarkindex.com.